Okay, I got my audio up all the way up here. Can we try unplugging and replugging the USB? That that ever works? Oh, oh, we got audio.
Okay. You got it?
I think so. Hold on.
Is it good?
Yeah, I'm gonna hear myself talk again in the audio. The music's back on, by the way. I think we have it.
Yeah.
I think we have the audio.
Okay.
All right. So okay. So everyone can hear. Whew. Man, sorry about that, guys. By the way, we got the music coming back on every 10 15 seconds. So just want to make sure that. Sorry, folks. We're always working on the technical difficulties part, and being this being live, there's always gonna be challenges, especially when we're broadcasting, right? Broadcasting. well. The wages are super high. Unemployment's low. We're doing really, really well. Now, at a time that's doing really, really well, we can expect there to be a time where it's not doing so well. So in those times, we need to be able to prepare ourselves for the recessions, because obviously when the recession happens, we don't want to be underwater. So we want to focus on paying off our debt as much as possible, for us to be able to be protected. And when the recession does happen, that's when we're going to go ahead and buy a ton of asset as much as possible when the prices are really, really cheap. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So under what conditions are the banks going to be closing up the HELOC account?
Yes. Okay, so there are situations where the banks may freeze the HELOC. Now, one of the situations, and the more common situations we saw in 2008, is when I'll illustrate it on the board because I think this might be easier on the board. Let's say you have invested, or you have your home value is $200,000 right now in this current market. Okay, and let's say you only owe. So I'm gonna write you owe. Let's say $120,000 in terms of your mortgage, and then you decide to get a second lien position HELOC at, let's say, $50,000. Okay. The total amount that you owe now is $180,000. Buy your real estate is $170,000. I'm doing my math wrong. So you got your original mortgage is $120,000, and you get a HELOC for $50,000, total $170,000. Now this is where it gets concerning, and this is something that you should absolutely avoid. And this is what Dave Ramsey is talking about in the other video commentary that I did. When and if the value falls and the recession happens, let's say the value falls and drops to $160,000, which can be likely, right? It's not. Strategy to pay off both of the first position mortgage as well as the second position HELOC as soon as possible, right? Because the goal is before the recession catches up and brings our value of our property down, we want both of these, or overall debt on our property, to be significantly lower than $160,000, which might be a scenario of your home value after the recession. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yes, but what's beautiful about this strategy is that it gives you, even after the recession, it still gives you buying power as well as resources for you to expand and buy rental properties.
Okay, so between paying down the primary resident mortgage as well as comparing that to a renter property mortgage, the best one based on what you have said is actually the primary one, because the HELOC is tied to the primary mortgage, right? Yeah,
and it comes down to what's your priority? Would you rather go homeless and have 100 rental properties, or would you like to just maybe lose 10 rental properties but still have your home primary residence? That's an answer. That's a question that obviously it's personal. It's up to you. I've seen people where they keep their rental properties, sacrifice their primary residence. That might be not so wise for some people. I don't know what your priorities and what your goals are, but that could be a scenario where when someone says, you know what, I'm just gonna ditch my home, go live in an apartment for a couple years until the market cools off, but I'm gonna protect my rental property as much as I can. That might be a scenario. Or you might be saying, you know what, I'm gonna use my rental properties as my pawns. I'm gonna give up 5 rental properties just so that my primary residence stays afloat. Might be a scenario, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's good. Thanks a lot for your help.
absolutely. Anything that could help.
Okay. Bye.
All right, take care. Dave, do we have another caller? Okay, so we do have another caller. Let's go and pick up the caller. All right, this is Sam. You're live on YouTube.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you, man?
Good, good. I called in on Monday. I talked to your bro.
Oh, excellent.
Joel from Miami, the Airbnb manager.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. What's your name, sir?
Joel.
Nice to meet you,
Calling all the
Joel.
way from Miami.
Awesome, beautiful Miami, sir. So what can I do and how can I help you?
Yes, I have a question. I'm about to get a HELOC,
Sure.
and I've been told it's kind of like a credit card, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, I've been thinking either to use it to build an extra room or acquire real estate.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, if I use that whole HELOC, would it affect my credit?
So the short
My
answer,
personal credit?
yeah, the short answer is yes. Because your home equity line of credit is a revolving account, meaning if you look at a FICO score, Fair Isaac score, your FICO score has different components and how your credit score is, how your credit gets scored. Do we just lose him? Because I hear a dialing tone. Not sure if that's okay. Joe, can you still hear us? Because I hear a dialing tone in the back.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
Joe,
can
can,
hear you now.
yep,
Go
can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
now.
excellent. Sorry about that. Okay, so with your credit score, there are different components. There are 5 different components that make up your credit score. One of that is the utilization rate. Your utilization rate factors in 35% of your FICO score. And for those who don't know what utilization rate is, let's say you have a $10,000 credit card, right? And if you use $3,000 out of the $10,000 limit, you have a 30% utilization because you're out of the $10,000 that's given to you as a limit, you're using $3,000 of it. So if you max out your home equity line of credit, what that's gonna do is it's also gonna max out your utilization rate, depending on, again, if you have other credit cards or line of credit, because your utilization rate factors all of your revolving account, not just one. So if you have 5 different credit cards, it's gonna add all the limits as well as add all the balances together, and it's gonna factor in, what the utilization rate is. But let's pretend that your home equity line of credit is the only revolving account that you have in your credit. If you max out your home equity line of credit, then yes, it could potentially tank your credit because you're maxing out the utilization rate.
Yeah, because right now I have one personal credit card, but it got
Mm-hmm.
zero balance, and it's zero balance for
Yep.
a while. I haven't used it.
Now,
But I
if
was
you,
gonna use the HELOC.
yeah, Joe. So
It's
Joe,
a-
one thing that you,
it's go
yeah,
ahead,
Joe,
go ahead, you got
one
it,
thing that
go
you
ahead.
can do, because I know you're gonna go down the rabbit trail of HELOC. One thing you can do if you're doing this for your business, you can get a business line of credit, which is not gonna affect your personal credit as well. So business credit, it has its own reporting. It's got its own bureaus. Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. They have their own reporting system as well as how the score is weighted. They have different scores and all that. So if you're worried about your personal credit, one thing you can do is establish corporate/business credit and get a business line of credit. That way, it's not affecting your personal credit at all.
That's funny you said that because I just applied right like about 2 hours ago.
Oh, there we go.
System.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
My question, I was gonna ask. By the way, I was gonna bring that up too. What credit card do you recommend for that to build that business credit? Because I noticed there's not a lot of companies that report back to you.
Yes. So for those who are listening, we're talking about business credit. There are different steps to building business credit. Generally, there's a process. One of the first things I would do to build business credit is to apply for what's called 30-day trade lines. 30-day trade lines are done with specific suppliers as well as companies that are huge, that are big. So a couple companies I can name is Uline. I know Uline will report your 30-day trade line to Dun & Bradstreet. Quill will also do that too. I don't know if Granger still does it, but they used to a lot. But I know Uline and Quill definitely does. So when you buy stuff from them, you can use their 30-day trade line where it's called Net 30 account. What that basically means that you have 30 days for you to make the purchase and then pay off within 30 days. If you get that going for 3 months, you show 3 months of activity on your business credit, you can then go ahead and graduate to a more, I should say, more, I wouldn't say sophisticated, but a higher tier creditor such as Lowe's, Best Buy, Shell Oil, like BP, gas station. They have their own store cards, right? They have their own retail cards that you can get, and once you get those on your business credit file, then you can go and move on to getting bank cards, 30, 50, or even high limit cards such as $100,000 cards that are going to be available to you. That process itself is about a year long. I know we can go into the detail of this, but just to give you a general idea what the process looks like, you start with a net 30 account when it comes to start building your actual activity on your business credit file.
Okay, so basically, if I'm HELOC, want to use the whole thing, might as well get business line of credit.
Yeah, and if you're doing this for business purposes, right? If you're
Yeah. Like for example, I want to acquire a down payment on a house or add an extra bedroom that's going to produce income.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't want to use the whole, because I'm going to qualify. I already know I'm going to qualify for a $50,000 HELOC. It's going to cost me around that range to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, if you're gonna go ahead and use the money for down payment on a rental property, why not raise the money from a private partner?
Okay.
Instead of putting yourself in more leverage, because again, if you use, and there are going to be banks that's going to restrict you. There's going to be a covenant of restriction, meaning there's going to be a restriction on what you can use the HELOC for, and one of the restrictions can be you cannot use the HELOC for a down payment on another property. So, and that's really for your protection, because again, we don't want to have a repeat of 2008 of people getting over leveraged, too much debt. But the alternative to that, and something that we teach here in the Kwak Brothers, is raising money from other individuals. So using OPM, other people's money, to go ahead and use that as a down payment, as opposed borrowing and then using that as a down payment. If that makes any sense.
Okay. If for some reason I'm stuck, do you think it's better if I could use it and as long as I can pay it off in 5 months?
For the business line of credit?
Yeah, for the HELOC. Let's say I can't, for some reason I'm stuck with raising money, and I know I can pay that off in 5 months.
If you're stuck at raising money, if you're stuck at raising money from other people, you need some more education, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so raising money should actually. So Daniel and I, and I know that we're gonna make this sound super easy, but it took us a lot of work to get here. But raising money should happen within a matter of minutes or seconds, as long as that relationship you built has trust. And so, and here's why I'm more a fan of raising money versus using banks' money. And this is more so the reason why I use owner financing versus bank financing, is because when the market turns on you, you got to ask yourself, who's going to be more merciful? Will the ABC Corporation Bank going to be more merciful for you, or will your friend Joe, who's known you for a couple of years, has lended you $50,000 for a deal, will he be more merciful? Right? So you gotta. This is why I love working with individuals in terms of raising capital. As long as we're following the guidelines of SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, as well as other securities laws. It's easier for me to work with individuals under that pretense versus having to work with the bank, because banks are going to have restrictions, as well as when the market turns, they have their own selfish ambitions to want to stay solvent and to make more money. So I prefer to work with individuals over financing through a bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess that's everything I needed. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man.
And listen.
Thank you for go ahead.
Yeah. And listen, I'm being honest, because I can tell you, hey, go borrow as much money as possible and buy as much rental property as possible. That's probably what 99% of YouTube is trying to say right now, which is basically all hype. What we're trying to tell you is, hey, protect yourself, because market can turn like this, as well as people can turn like this. And it's really, really important that you set yourself, that you protect yourself from the downside that could happen by over leveraging yourself. I've seen more people go down in 2008, 2009 because they got too ambitious versus being less ambitious. So it's okay to go a little bit slower, in the name of safety and making sure that it's CYA, right? Cover your asset. And we want to make sure that you're being protected and you're growing at a rate that it's good, it's healthy, and you're expanding, you're generating cash flow, you're generating passive income. But at the same time, we don't want to build phantom businesses. And what I mean by phantom businesses is that you're building businesses that's not going to last more than 3 years. And that's not a good business practice to be in. You want to make sure you're in the business for a long haul, that you got cash flow and passive income coming in for decades to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the moral of the story is I can't use the whole thing for the HELOC.
Yes. The moral. So yeah, the short answer is no.
Yeah. And it's better to raise capital than actually,
right.
go to the bank because it's more expensive.
Yep.
All right. Hey, man, thanks for the information.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for all the information you guys are putting out there to the world, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.
All
right.
Man, have a blessed day, man.
You too. Thanks, Joel. So we got another question here. So Glenn's asking, what if you plan on using your primary residence as a rental property? I'm currently 50% equity with the HELOC. That is 25% HELOC. If I were to pull the full HELOC, I will be at 75% percent debt. So I don't know what I can see your goal is getting a rental property. I'm not sure if you're saying 50% loan to value or 50% equity, because you mentioned 75% debt. I'm not quite sure what you're mentioning there, Glenn, but yeah, I don't know I don't know exactly. You may have to kind of explain your question a little bit more, because I'm not sure what you're really asking. It just sounds more like a comment to something that I may have said earlier. Okay, so I want to make sure that we have sound for everybody. Okay, we do have sound. Okay, that's good.
It's been working. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, and by the way, guys, we got to give a huge applause for Dave there. Dave is on the control booth, making sure that we have sound and we have everything that's, all the behind the scenes stuff. Dave is running the show. We gotta appreciate all the people that's helping us out with this whole broadcast video thing. So Glenn is saying 50% mortgage, and so Glenn's following up with me here. He's got 50% of his entire value of the home as a mortgage and 25% HELOC. So essentially, you're at 75% loan to value, and so you want to turn it into a rental property. My question is, what now, right? So what? Like, what do you like? I'm not sure what. Yeah, I know your situation, but what are you really asking? Like, are you asking me that are you in danger, or are you asking me that? Okay, so there it is. Would you consider continuing paying it down or saving cash? That depends, Glenn. I don't know if you have multiple rental properties or just that one property. I would say so when you use the HELOC strategy, when you use our strategy of debt-free acceleration, you essentially kind of do both of establishing liquidity as well as paying down your debt. And the reason being is that when you have a HELOC, you can get that money back out, right? You can draw the money back out. So if you take all of your excess cash as well as your income and all the savings that you built up to the HELOC to lower the average daily balance, thus lowering the balance that you're going to be subject to interest, you're paying debt down as fast as possible, but still giving you the ability to draw the principal portion of the HELOC out. Does that make sense? So with the strategy that we teach, the mortgage acceleration, velocity banking, debt acceleration, you're accomplishing both. You're paying down debt and you're staying liquid for the time when you want to buy more asset. So this is why I love this strategy, is because it's not just one-sided, like it's not just one goal-oriented. It's not just about paying off debt, which is great, but it's also about preparing you for what's going to happen during the recession, as well as positioning yourself so that you can go and buy more asset when the recession is low, or you may have to use that excess money, the HELOC, for emergencies. And it gives you so much flexibility versus just throwing extra money into the mortgage, right? This is why I'm not a huge fan of just throwing extra into the mortgage, because it actually sort of binds you and puts you in a cuff where you don't have as much flexibility as you would with our debt-free acceleration strategy. Okay, so for those who don't know what we're talking about, I suggest that you go and check out the debt-free acceleration strategy. All you have to do is just, what I'll do is I'll just go and leave the comment below of our debt-free acceleration strategy video. I'll leave it below so that you guys get to see what we're talking about. Okay. Glenn's is saying, I'm worried about not being able to refinance the HELOC to make it a larger HELOC. So Glenn, you can go in and if you're part of our program, you can get access to our all-in-one loan, which the all-in-one loan is an 80% loan to value. So you're at 75% loan to value. So you could essentially go in and refinance into the all-in-one loan, which essentially is a checking account and a line of credit bundled in together. So it's basically a mega HELOC account with a checking account built in for automatic sweeps every night. And I do apologize because I do have a little bit of a sore throat, cold thing happening, so I am drinking tea here. So if you feel like I sound a little raw or slow, that's because I'm still processing this sore throat thing. And I thought about not showing up today, but I had to show up because for you guys, right? I care about you guys and making sure that I follow through my commitment of being here on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock Central Time to answer questions that you may have. So bear with me, wish me well because I'm still processing this cold. I'm not sure where I got it from, but I still have this tingling sensation. So Glenn, I hope that answers the question in terms of getting and I think what you're asking is getting a first position HELOC on that property, which you can get. You're at 75% loan to value. Some lenders are going to ask you for less of a loan to value. Some lenders are going to ask you for more. But the all-in-one loan I believe is at 80% loan to value. I think you're gonna be okay. Cool. All right. Let's see who else. Okay. So guys, any other questions as far as the mortgage acceleration, debt acceleration, velocity banking? We'd love to answer some questions. Glenn is following up here. Says the all-in-one loan opens your whole balance to variable interest rate on the whole mortgage. All right. So I think every episode we got to talk about this whole interest rate thing. And I seem frustrated because I am, mainly because, guys, if you closely pay attention to the strategy, interest rate, and let me go and step back real quick. In the context of the strategy, when you use the strategy correctly and within the fine lines, interest rate really, really doesn't matter, okay? I'm gonna I don't even wanna write it down. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. Interest rate don't matter, guys, with this strategy. I don't know how many times I have to repeat this. I know I'm frustrated because you guys are so in tune, like, oh my gosh, interest rate. It's like higher interest rate. It's variable. Oh my gosh, like we shouldn't be touching this. Guys, average daily balance should be the key. Like you guys should be more concerned about the average daily balance than the interest rate. The banks have trained you guys to think interest rate because they want to have you keep on shopping interest rate, not focus on paying down the average daily balance. Okay, when you focus on paying down the average daily balance, the interest rate doesn't really matter unless it's like skyrocketed to 40%. Then it will matter, okay? I wouldn't be concerned about the interest rate unless it's like 40, 50%, which we have never seen in the history of the United States. We've gotten up to like 19, 20% in the 80s, but we have never seen close to 50%, okay? Now, with the all-in-one loan, yes, it is variable. I know that's gonna freak some of you out, but in the context of strategy, the variable interest part does not matter, okay? I'm gonna repeat myself over and over and over again, guys. I know I can get a little bit emotional when I have to repeat things out loud over and over and over again. But guys, just understand this. If you understand how the average daily balance works and what you do to pay it down, the interest rate is not gonna matter, okay? I'm gonna say this one more time. Interest rate doesn't matter in this context, okay? All right. Okay, so it says when you keep a portion of your mortgage at a fixed rate and the HELOC at a fixed. So there are also home equity line of credit products that are fixed rate interest as well. There's gonna be weird people and gurus and bankers are gonna tell you that all HELOCs are variable, which is not simply true. There are HELOCs that are fixed rate interest as well. There are ways to lock the interest rate in. Though it's a small fee of $95 to $100 whenever you lock the interest rate down. So yes, there are HELOCs that are fixed rate interest based. Okay. Top Secret Bear is asking, speaking of interest, do you think a rate cut rate cut is coming soon. So I did read that article, and I think I know what you're referencing to there. There is a recent article that by Wall Street Journal that the Federal Reserve is signaling a possible interest rate cut to sort of combat the economy slowing down. Now, I believe that even if the Federal Reserve does cut rates, it's not going to stop the recession, mainly because, well, I think I'm going to have Daniel answer this in another week, but there are too many variables right now that is signaling recession that's going to happen. I think it's sort of inevitable at this point, but I do believe that a rate cut might be possible to sort of balance out the signals and signs that we're seeing with recessions. Maybe it's likely. It could happen. The Federal Reserve can come together, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve may say, hey, let's go and cut our interest rate by another 25 basis point, by 0.25%. Could happen. If it does, great. Not so great. There's ramification to that as well, to the economy. So it could happen. I have read that on Wall Street Journal as well. So definitely not outside of the realm of possibilities. So it could happen. Okay. All right. Any other questions, guys? You guys can always call in at 708-529-6527 to directly dial with me. If you feel like I'm not all in today, that's because I got this cold thing, sore throat thing happening. So I might be a little bit more frustrated than usual, which it's okay. I'm human. I'm vulnerable as well. I'm not a cyber organic. No, it's cyber organism. That's what it is. I'm trying to remember what Terminator said, what Arnold Schwarzenegger said, to describe himself as a T-1000. So guys, let's go back to the interest rate real quick, because I know a lot of you guys have lived with this mindset that interest rate is like the only thing that you should be looking at when shopping for a mortgage. It's kind of sad that we've never been taught how the interest rate is actually being calculated on the mortgage. Because if we understood how the interest rate is calculated, the method that it's being used, we would understand that a HELOC and the mortgage, the calculation is different when using all of our income and throwing it in the HELOC. Okay, so when we throw all the money into the HELOC, our savings, our excess cash into the HELOC, again, number one, it lowers the average daily balance, which also lowers the interest that we are subject to. Number two, it still gives us the flexibility as well as the ability to draw the money out of the HELOC whenever we want to. So tell me why the savings account, why you still want to park your money in your savings account, earning 2%, 3% a year, right? It'd be much better, right? And stay with me here. It'd be much better you park your cash, okay, at a HELOC that's charging you anywhere between 4.5% to 7% interest rate, and leaving your money there until you need it for emergencies / bills, expenses, and so on, right? Because Ben Franklin once said, a penny saved is penny earned. So by throwing your excess cash into the HELOC, you're saving additional interest. By default, you're earning that interest, right? So instead of parking your money in a short-term or long-term savings account, earning you 2.5%, 3% at most, park your cash in a HELOC because you can still draw that money out for the future use. Okay, let's see here. We got Lone Newton is saying, is there a high chance of recession? Then is that better to hold cash and wait? So this is sort of a repeat of what I just said, but I'm going to give it a little different twist. Yes, you can hold cash, but it's gonna be subject to inflation. It's not, and you're gonna be losing value of that money. Why not take that cash and throw it in the HELOC, lower the average daily balance, and still give you the access to that money for future use? Does that make sense? Like, cash is great. I know Warren Buffett's doing that right now. He's holding like $60 billion of cash with Berkshire Hathaway. But for us, at the consumer level, it's going to be way more significantly impactful and effective if we take all our excess cash that we have, pull it in and put it in the HELOC. That way, it's saving us that 5 to 7%, 4.5% to 7%, and lowering the balance, but still giving us access to that cash for any time use. Okay, it's essentially virtually like cash. It's very liquid. It's, if we need cash out of the HELOC, you can just transfer it out of your online banking access, or oftentimes banks will give you actual plastic cards for you to actually swipe when you need to go swipe that at a store or retail, anywhere you want. Okay. Top Secret Bear is contemplating my first real estate move and trying to figure out if I should wait for a cut or go ahead now. So this is something that I mentioned earlier in the show today, is there are still opportunities in real estate investing. There are still opportunities for you to buy. You just have to be extremely picky, and the opportunities are gonna be less. During a recession, you're gonna see a lot more opportunities where you can buy distressed properties as well as buy cheap properties at a discount. There are still opportunities like that today, but you're gonna see a less of those opportunities. And it's interesting because when the economy is doing really, really well, everyone wants to get into real estate, and by virtue, there's more demand. And when you see more demand but less opportunities in general for you to get distressed properties or cheaper property, this is where obviously there's a competition, and it's gonna drive the prices up. So basically, my short answer is yes, you can go and still buy stuff, but just be extremely picky. What we are doing here in the Kwak Brothers is we're actually acquiring Airbnb properties, and Daniel is focused right now in acquiring Airbnb properties, and we're also selling some of our rental properties. So if you guys are interested in buying our rental properties, you guys can go and inquire us, and we'll give you some information about the properties that we're selling. Okay, my little last pitch there. Okay. T Tama is saying, sorry, a stupid question. By the way, no question is ever stupid. Does lender ask how we're using our HELOC? Do they check with the other institution on our transaction? So the lender, and again, this may depend on which lender you go to and which banks you go to. Different lenders may and will ask how and why you're gonna use the HELOC for. And if they, and there's the covenant of restriction, which I talked about earlier. We had a caller ask that question earlier. There are covenant of restriction in which banks may say you cannot use the HELOC for X, Y, and Z. Okay, X, Y, Z may be you can't use that as a down payment for another property. You can't use it to buy certain businesses. The most frequent business that you can't buy is obviously gambling and drug business, right? Those are some of the banks that, or those are some of the businesses that the banks won't allow you to buy or get your, apply your funds towards too. But there are also banks that have no limitation. They may say, hey, do whatever you want, right? As long as you pay it back. But there's gonna be also banks, they're gonna ask for, they're gonna put a boundary and say, hey, you can't cross this line. You cannot buy whatever asset or things outside this line that we're drawing here. Okay, so it's gonna behoove of you to go and ask, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Banker, what are some limitation and covenant or restriction on this HELOC? Can I use this money for a down payment, or can I use this money to buy a gambling business? I don't know. That's something you're gonna have to ask individually to that bank, because different banks are gonna have different policies when it comes to what you can do with the line of credit. Okay. Lone Yun is asking, what criteria do you shop for Airbnb? So that's actually going to be a Daniel question. Lone, if you want to ask that question, I would suggest that you come back next Monday and ask that question for Daniel, because Daniel does more of our Airbnb operation than I do. Daniel is going to have a more of a precise answer than I can provide, because I don't want to fluff through it. So next Monday, 11 o'clock Central Time, we're going to do another real estate. We're going to do a real estate Q&A, where we're gonna answer questions about real estate investing specifically. Wednesdays, today, we're reserving the time for answering questions about debt-free, mortgage acceleration, velocity banking, and so on. Okay, so come back next Monday, 11 o'clock Central Time, and we're gonna answer all the real estate investing related questions, whether you have questions about fix and flips, buying apartment buildings, getting into note investing. I mean, there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. So we're gonna go and address all those questions that you may have next Monday, 11 o'clock Central, with Daniel being here. And I'm usually live on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock Central Time. Okay. Do you have any experience with Bank of England? Know anything about them? So I'm gonna be honest and be truthful here, guys. I have very limited information as well as knowledge about banks in England, but I do know that most Commonwealth countries or common law countries such as England, Australia, Some part of India is still common law. Canada, New Zealand, United States, we all use a very similar law and legal system. And these countries also have its own central banking system. So it's very similar. There are going to be nuances and different names for different products. So in England, they may not call it a home equity line of credit. They may use a different terminology to describe it. So long story short, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge when it comes to banks in England, but I can tell you a whole lot about Canada and Australia because those are two countries that I do a lot of research on as far as different banking products out there. Okay. Okay, Glenn is saying, when would you not pay down a mortgage? Well, you should always be paying down a mortgage, whether you're on a fixed amortization schedule. Hopefully you are, because you're going to be on a foreclosure. But I think the question is, when do you not aggressively pay down your mortgage? My answer would be during a recession. Should you still be paying off your mortgage during a recession? Yes. Okay, you should be. Don't get into a foreclosure. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But during a recession, during when the market is really slow, the prices are down, there are a lot more foreclosure as well as default in terms of mortgage in general. That is the best time to go and buy real estate. Okay, of course, subject to you knowing how to buy real estate and knowing how to analyze a deal, underwriting a deal, and financing and so on. But I think that should be during the recession should be more about aggressively buying and expanding, more so aggressively paying off your debt. Now, here's what the cycle should look like. And Dave, if you don't mind, can you switch the board here? This is what ideally you should be doing in terms of the different economic cycles. So we're at a boom right now, and soon we might see a recession, right? And we're gonna see another boom afterwards, okay? This is the best time to either sell, pay off mortgage, or pay off any debt, and also quote unquote downsize. I know that's what a lot of people I see doing right now. And when you get to the recession, this is a great time to buy and expand and spend. Okay, when things are cheap. Now, right now, let's say this is 2019, and I'm predicting, Daniel and I are both predicting the recession may come anywhere between 2020 to 2021. Anytime there, okay? This is just a prediction. I could be wrong. Daniel could be wrong. We all could be wrong here. I don't have a crystal ball, nor do I have tarot cards to predict any of this, which I don't believe in either of them. But I can't predict the future, but I can sort of anticipate what's going to happen based on information that's given to me today. So let's assume that we're correct that the recession does happen 2020, 2021, and we buy a ton of real estate here, right? We just buy more real estate, on top of real estate, we buy apartments, we buy all sorts of assets that's gonna make us money. Now, when it comes to bouncing, bring us back on track for boom, and when the recession, when the economy is doing better, guess what? We have all these assets that's providing income for us, right? It's generating income, it's generating wealth, it's generating a lot of surplus for us. Now what we do, and when we come back to the boom, whenever we have the next boom, that's when you go and dedicate some of the cash earnings and the income and the surplus of cash and pay off some of the properties that we bought during the recession. That way, we're gonna be debt-free, right? We're gonna be free and clear of many of the assets and properties that we bought. We're not gonna be leveraged. And then when the next recession happens, we're gonna have additional cash as well as influx of resources for us to buy even more. This is how wealthy grow wealthy every single market cycle. Every single market cycle, okay? Because I've seen in 2009, 2010, I've seen hedge funds buy like hundreds of properties, single families, and right now they're unloading them, selling, and generating a ton of cash. So this is something that you guys should follow. Daniel does a better job explaining macroeconomics than I could, but giving you more of a general sense of what you should be doing. During a boom, you should be selling, paying off debt, downsizing. Well, again, there are still opportunities for you to buy, and you should prepare, you should get educated, because by the time you get to here, if you're not educated on what you need to be doing, then you're basically gonna be shot in the foot. So in this period, right now, when the market is doing really, really well, you should be focusing on paying off, staying lean, paying off debt, staying lean, and getting educated, okay? Learning as much as you can about real estate investing and getting into business and so on, so that by the time this comes around, right? When the recession comes around, you'll be prepared to expand and spend, buy, acquire assets, buy income properties, buy rental properties, so that when we come back to the boom, okay, you're gonna be ready for the next cycle. Cool? All right, guys, let's see. I think that's pretty much it as far as me answering that question. I hope this gives you an idea of what you should be doing. You don't have to do it, okay? I mean, just a suggestion. I mean, you don't have to listen to this Asian guy here, but we do a lot of research, right? We're sharing with you guys what makes us money, because obviously we're preparing for this recession as well. We're paying down as much debt as possible. We're selling some of our properties that are not performing as well, so that we can go and pick up some cash as well as get and staying liquid, okay? All right, so it's 11:55. We're gonna take one more question. If we don't have any questions, we're gonna go and wrap this up. I know we had some little bit of audio technical difficulties earlier part of the show. I do apologize for that, guys. We're gonna go and make sure this doesn't happen for next Monday. Again, what we do here, guys, is we fail forward. Okay, we fail to be better. We strive to be better for you guys, so that we can get more information, knowledge, and training for you in terms of paying off your mortgage, investing in real estate, starting a business, whatever question you may have about general entrepreneurship, finance, as well as real estate, we have the answers. All right, guys, I don't see any other questions on the live chat box, nor do we have any calls coming in. So we're going to go and wrap up the show today, guys. Thank you so much for being on board and being patient with us, even through the technical difficulties earlier today. And me having this really weird cold, sore throat, tingling sensation thing going. I do apologize, you guys, for that. But I thank you, and I'm thankful, and I'm grateful that you guys are still here and watching this. We'll come back next Monday for real estate investing Q&A, and Monday 11 o'clock, and Wednesday at 11 o'clock for our mortgage acceleration live Q&A. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you guys next week. Take care.